Welcome back to the Racial Draft Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Ford, here for a solo episode. I am not joined by any co-hosts. Kia is, I think, on the run after leaking the Spider-Man trailer. So, you know how the Marvel snipers like to move. So, hearts go out and if you did happen to see the Star Wars trailer, you are complicit. But we press ahead because I am still here doing what we do every week, and that is change the complexion of the comic book universe one draft pick at a time in the racial draft. And if this is your first episode, I apologize because we're in uncharted territory. Me and only my thoughts. I know that's not what you all signed up for. I'm going to try to do the best that I can with only my thoughts as we press ahead. And I think this is week 6, might be week 6, might be week 7 of the racial draft. There were a lot of picks that came through this week, and we should probably just jump right in. Last week, when we had our nominations, one of the more controversial nominations was Jon Stewart. That's right, Jon Stewart, not he of the Daily Show, but he of the Green Lanterns, the Black Green Lantern, as it were, as most people understand him to be. He was nominated by the white delegation, and I knew that would not stand. It didn't bother to, it probably didn't even make it 24 hours before before it got out of the hands of the white delegation. Ended up ultimately reaching through the ante-up bidding war situation only for $2. Only for $2. A multiracial delegation was able to swoop in and acquire Jon Stewart. So they, for the visual reference, they chose Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So I guess he's more of a brolic Green Lantern. Maybe all of his constructs are of the pro wrestling variety. But yeah, $2 for the multiracial delegation. They got their Jon Stewart. And the people were a little bit mixed, so to speak. 57.2% approval rating for this acquisition, with 28.6 strongly approve, 28.6 somewhat approve, 14.3% somewhat disapprove, and 28.6% racist. I mean, he was already Black, guys. What was the problem? What was the problem? I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead and read from the wiki really quick. I mean, you should know who Jon Stewart is, but in case you don't, formerly an architect, social activist, and U.S. Marine sniper, Jon Stewart was chosen by the Guardians of the Universe to join the Green Lantern Corps, an intergalactic peacekeeping organization dedicated to protecting life throughout the universe. Stewart has proven himself time and again to be an exceptional champion in countless missions that have taken him across the cosmos. His distinguished service in the Corps has resulted in a place among the Olan Honor Guard and the position of Corps leader. So yeah, I mean, he's a veteran, a Marine. You know, those of you who are Marines who listen to this show, hoorah! Wait, is that right? I don't know. Don't hate me for not being down with the Marine cause, but listen, we expect him to show up at some point in live action. Obviously, there was some chicanery involving Zack Snyder and his attempt to shoehorn a Jon Stewart into his Snyder cut. But as of yet, the closest that we have come to a Jon Stewart has been Diggle in the Arrowverse, who got himself a ring, but we haven't seen him in the suit. So he's still, let's just say if it happens in the next couple of months, there'll be some bonus points in the offing for the multiracial delegation. But, thumbs down to the Black delegation for not having a strong fight for the character, for retaining Jon Stewart. But I'm sure they've got some plans for how they're going to manage their roster, so to speak. that brings us to the next character, very contentious back and forth, involving Barbara Gordon. You may know her as Batgirl, but there's also, yeah, like I said, you may know her as Batgirl. There was also some news in the last couple of weeks about a Batgirl live action movie and the casting for the Batgirl. I believe Leslie Grace was the actress who was cast to play Batgirl. And true to form, the Latinx delegation did its thing, making sure that Leslie Grace retained that casting and the delegation retained that acquisition of Latinx Barbara Gordon. $80 is what it cost. Strong move. I believe there was a back and forth between the South Asian delegation and the Latinx delegation, and the Latinx delegation made sure to get their girl, Batgirl, get their Batgirl, as it were. I'll go ahead and read from the wiki, but you, again, another character that you should know very well. Barbara Gordon was the first modern age Batgirl until she was brutally shot by the Joker, rendering her paralyzed from the waist down. Barbara reinvented herself as Oracle, providing intelligence to the DCU heroes and leading the Birds of Prey. She has recently become Batgirl once again to protect Gotham City. You can also, actually, I think at this very moment, she's acting in both roles as both Oracle and as Batgirl. But it will remain to be seen how that plays out in the comics, as whether they decide to ultimately align what the character does in the books with what's happening in live action. But you know, big things are probably in the offing for Barbara Gordon in whatever form she chooses. And big things are in the offing for the Latinx delegation, as the people gave it a 75% approval rating, with all 75% strongly approving and all 25% racist. That's right, you heard it here first. You're racist if you don't support Latinx Barbara Gordon. But we press ahead. The next character, there's going to be a little bit of dead air every now and then because we don't have a guest to chime in with a little vamping. But bear with me. It looks like the next character to be acquired was, in fact, Wally West. No, I apologize. The next character to be acquired was by the Jewish delegation. Stay tuned for more from the Jewish delegation. But the Jewish delegation acquired, I think for the second season in a row, Sojourner Joe Malik, a Black woman, as the Green Lantern of the Far Sector. And they chose as their visual referent, you might know her as, from the fame of being a cow, but also from other musical stylings, Doja Cat, who is also Black and Jewish. And she will be the visual referent, aka fan cast, for Joe Malik. I'll go ahead and read from the wiki. Sojourner Joe Malik is an ex-cop and rookie Green Lantern who investigated the first murder committed in the city enduring for the last 500 years. Like I said, she was the main character and the lead of the Green Lantern Far Sector book, which recently ended, and now she's one of the lead characters of the main Green Lantern book. I believe, yes, the final bid price was $15, which, is a very solid price for a lead character. The people, very, very, very mixed. 50% approval rating for this acquisition, including 33.3% strongly approved, 16.7% somewhat approved, 16.7% somewhat disapprove, and 33.3% anti-Semitic. Wow, you hate to see it. But yeah, this was controversial. I don't know why it was controversial, but it was controversial. And it remains to be seen what kind of whether maybe we'll get a backstory, maybe we won't. Maybe people will warm up to the idea of a Black Jewish woman in holding the Green Lantern ring. But I'm a fan of Joe Malik, and I've been a fan of this Far Sector book. And we still don't know whether she will appear in live action or even animated at this point. But I think that she was well received over the past year or two, and I think she will continue to grow in prominence as a character. So here's to the Jewish delegation for the second season in a row, holding on to this big time character. Staying in the realm of the green brings us to the Green Arrow, aka Oliver Queen, who was acquired by the Southeast Asian delegation. And they went ahead. I apologize for forgetting this actor's name as their visual referent. They chose the young version of this actor, who you may have noticed, Hiroyuki Sanada, who has been in the game for at least 30 years. But yes, the young Hiroyuki Sanada, who you might know from The Last Samurai or from the most recent 2021 Mortal Kombat movie, has that Van Dyke facial hair, has the long flowing hair, bit of a pretty boy, as our Oliver Queen is wont to do. I would imagine, we haven't had a lot in the realm of the backstory, but I would imagine that the Queen family, given that they're on the West Coast, are a prominent, rich family that has, maybe multinational dealings both in Japan and also on the West Coast in Seattle, which often doubles for Star City. I'm going to go ahead and read from the wiki. Oliver Queen was a spoiled, thrill-seeking playboy until he was left stranded on a deserted island for several years. There, he trained to become a master archer in order to survive. After his return home, he used his newfound skills and his wealth to become the costume vigilante known as Green Arrow. Now, admittedly, Oliver Queen is the kind of character that one might feel is a better fit for remaining white, because he tends to be a do-gooder, but often a misguided do-gooder. He has his liberal leanings, so to speak. He's a self-professed social justice warrior, and often his best efforts to do good get him into trouble because he can be misguided as someone who was very wealthy and was not necessarily part of the grassroots of the groups that he's trying to help. I can understand why someone might think that would be a better fit for remaining a white character, but I do think that there are nuances to being a person of, regardless of your background, a person of wealth and means and privilege that can still be disconnected from the average people. I think this was a solid pickup, both from a story standpoint and also from an FCL standpoint, as Oliver Queen is currently leading the Justice League and also a high-ranking member of the Checkmate organization in DC Comics. And I think he has a team-up book with, I believe he has a team-up book with Aquaman coming. So, he has various opportunities. Obviously, his television show, Arrow, ended about a year and a half ago. So he won't be getting a lot of live action scoring, but you never know. You never know what happens in the DC universe when it comes to announcing projects, which, admittedly might not get made, but when it, cameos from characters and different things. Oliver Queen became a much more well-known character over the last couple of years. And, it's a solid acquisition for the Southeast Asian delegation. And like I said, $25. was a solid price. Now, as far as the people gave it a 60% approval rating, including 20% strongly approve, 40% somewhat approve, 20% somewhat disapprove, and 20% racist. You hate to see it. You really do. But that brings us to the next acquisition. And this one was Wally West. We're back. Wally West was acquired for $16 by the South Asian delegation. That's right. The South Asian delegation continues to come on strong. I believe the fan cast / visual referent, Ivan Jogia. You're gonna have to look him up yourself, people. Piercing eyes in this young man, but good looking dude. He's got long hair, and Wally West, of course, keeps his hair out. I'm gonna go ahead and read from the wiki. Struck by the same lightning bolt that turned his uncle Barry Allen to the Flash, Wallace Rudolph Wally West took the name Kid Flash and became Barry's sidekick and a member of the Teen Titans. Eventually, Wally became the Flash to honor his uncle's memory, who died saving the universe. He also became a member of the Justice League. He married a woman named Linda Park and had 2 kids, Jai and Iris West II. Currently, well, this is not current because he's back. Pulled from the Speed Force by Barry, one of the 2 fastest men alive, and currently the Flash, the main Flash in the Flash comic. So he's come back into prominence. He was also played by Kean Lonsdale in the Arrowverse, but South Asian delegation claimed him. So in addition, we have multiracial Barry Allen, and now we have South Asian Wally West. It's going to be interesting to see whether the South Asian delegation shores up other members of the Flash family, but the people gave it a 100% approval rating, with all 100 strongly approving. So, I mean, again, this is another situation where I'm sure there's someone angrily tweeting about redheads being erased, and to that I say, we don't care. But again, we press ahead. That brings us to a divergence, because we had the first trade of our season. And I gotta say, I try to be impartial here. I try not to interject too much, but this was a pretty one-sided trade. This was a pretty bad trade, I think, as the Black delegation traded away Steve Rogers, Captain America, for 2 characters. One of those characters was Nubia, okay? And the other character was Khazar. I'm going to give you a second to think about that while I take this drink. Now, you may be asking yourself, Khazar, isn't he basically Tarzan? And I would say yes. He is a colonizer who established himself in the Savage Land. He's also known as Lord Plunder. And now the Black delegation has decided to make him Black. They, as their visual reference, they chose long-haired Lenny Kravitz, who's a good-looking dude, I admit, but it's really hard to separate the fact that he is descended from colonizers. He's a colonizer himself, who, only through the humbling experience of being raised by the animals in the Savage Land does he kind of shake off his colonizer ways and becomes an ally to the both native people and the native land. So I don't know. I mean, it feels a little icky. As a Black person, it feels a little icky to have Khazar be Black. running around in a loincloth. But, if you're just looking at it from a hot perspective, I'm sure that there are people who want to see Lenny Kravitz run around in a loincloth. But from a value perspective, on one hand, we're talking about Captain America. On the other hand, Khazar and Nubia. And this is no knock to Nubia, but she's probably not a second tier character, probably not a third tier character. I mean, I know she's coming on in terms of prominence. And I know that the Black delegation really, really wanted Nubia. They just kind of ran out of money and were not able to acquire her through the means of the bidding process. So they ended up giving up one of their big time characters, maybe even, well, sorry, their second most prominent character in order to acquire Nubia. And I think this is why the approval rating for this trade was only 66%, which even to honestly, 66 is pretty high. 44% strongly approved, 44.4% strongly approved, 22.2 somewhat approved, 11.1% somewhat disapprove, and 22.2 strongly disapprove. I am firmly in the strongly disapprove realm, especially because we didn't even talk about who the other side of this deal was, and that is the Latinx delegation, already the front runner, even more of a front runner now that they have acquired Steve Rogers, who I'm going to guess, based on running jokes and memes about the form of the Captain America costume in many incarnations, going to assume that this is Puerto Rican Captain America, light-skinned Puerto Rican Captain America in the 1940s, who many would have mistaken as white until he starts speaking Spanish. Just going to assume that Esteban Rogers fought in the war, came back, was awakened, and then immediately went to Spanish Harlem for some food that he wasn't able to get in the 1940s, if you know what I mean. But I will leave it to the members of the Latinx delegation to let me know what the true backstory is for Latino Captain America, but completely dominated this trade from where I sit. No matter how much I think Nubia is a cool character, that was really the principle, that the Black delegation wanted Nubia really bad, and they were willing to give away one of their top characters in order to get it. As a Black person, I feel disappointed. I feel disappointed at how that the lack of value in this trade. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention the visual referent whose name is escaping me right now. Sorry, guys. I am extremely disappointed. Give me a second as I attempt to vamp. I am still vamping. Sorry. Well, sorry, guys. Can't multitask like I normally can. So it's gonna depend on you taking a look at our various social medias, whether it's on Twitter, on Facebook, or on Instagram. Go ahead and take a look at the fan cast. I want to say it was Rae Castillo, but let me make sure so as to not steer you wrong. It was, in fact, Rae Castillo. There you go. You might know Rae Castillo from the more recent Army of the Dead movie, where he had a lot of facial hair, but in this incarnation, he's clearly going to be clean shaven, as Captain America typically is. And yeah, I think he can. I think that in a less enlightened time, people might assume that he was white. So that's what I'm going to assume for now as part of the headcanon for Latino Captain America. But again, I continue to object. I continue to object to this trade. It was a bad trade, and you can't tell me different. Can't tell me different. Boo, Black Delegation. Boo. But that brings us to one of my favorite segments, which is Tomati makes a nomination. Tomati gets exactly who he wants for the Polynesian delegation. And this was no exception, because the Polynesian delegation acquired Runa the Valkyrie. You might know her as played by Tessa Thompson in Thor Ragnarok. She recently debuted in the Marvel universe in the Valkyries book. She's still in the Valkyries book, and she is, coming on in terms of prominence, and acquired for $40. I will go ahead and read from the wiki. Runa is one of the original 9 Valkyries and the original wielder of Jarnbjorn, a vassal of the All-Father Bor. She entered into a romantic relationship with her comrade, Alta, one of the few survivors of the battle against the Dark God. Runa was escorting Alta's soul through the realm between when they were attacked and trapped inside an undead celestial bound to Null by All Black. For untold millennia, Runa was trapped within a loop of memories to the point she forgot trapped within a loop of memories to the point that she forgot even her own name. During Null's attack at Midgard, Runa was freed when Jane Foster, the latest Valkyrie, accidentally found her while trying to save the Sentry's soul from being absorbed by the Headless Celestial. Taken to Valhalla, Runa helped Brunhild explain the nature of the Headless Celestial to Jane and begrudgingly agreed to help Jane Foster vanquish the Headless Celestial. Partnered with Mr. Horse, Jane's winged horse, Runa set off to Vanaheim to reclaim her axe, which had come into the possession of Van Landi, the self-proclaimed king of thieves. Fighting her way through Van Land's minions, Runa reclaimed Jarnbjorn, but reneged on helping Jane in order to revel in being alive again by raiding Van Landi's pantry, let's say. Drunk, Runa admitted the real reason she was stalling was that she was afraid, but Mr. Horse managed to guilt trip her into rejoining the battle and helping destroy the Headless Celestial's body, freeing the souls trapped within. And after a brief reunion with Alta, who departed to Valhalla, Runa accompanied Jane back to Midgard to take the fight to Null. But yeah, Runa's out there. Probably going to remain popular as long as Tessa Thompson remains popular. However, the Polynesian delegation inserted their own fan cast, Hawaiian actress Shannon Sosamon, who, again, you're going to have to look at our social media to see her picture and to see whether you approve. But the people already made their voices known, because the people gave it a 75% approval rating, with all 75% strongly approving, and 0% somewhat approve, 0% somewhat disapprove, and 25% racist. Wow, you hate to see it. Or maybe not. Maybe they're just pro-Black and they were sad to see, Black Valkyrie go away. We'll never know, because, unlike what I implore you all to do every week, if you're going to strongly approve, let us know why you strongly approve. Especially if it's because you're racist. We want to know that you're racist. We want to know on Twitter, in a public forum, we want you to espouse the fact that you're racist, because I just think it's the right thing to do. Be open about it. But we press on. And this one was a biggie, because the Native American delegation acquired Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil, for a bid price of $35. And their visual referent, Benjamin Bratt, who you might know from the Law and Order series, also as Ken Pangborn. I think his name was Ken, from the Doctor Strange movie. He's a noted Native American activist. And he's played an attorney before, but I think visually he can make the Daredevil look work for him. And I will go ahead and read from the wiki. As a child, Matt Murdock was blinded by radioactive waste while trying to save an elderly stranger about to get hit by a truck carrying the dangerous material. In turn, his other senses were heightened to a superhuman sharpness, and he gained a form of radar sense. By day, he's a successful trial lawyer, but by night, he guards Hell's Kitchen as Daredevil, the man without fear. And speaking of being without fear, the people made their voice known as they gave it a 100% approval rating, with all 100% strongly approving. I would say that this went over really well for the Native American delegation. There have been some strong rumors. Obviously, there was a Daredevil television show that was very well acclaimed. And there have been some rumors that we might see this Daredevil in the MCU. And, if that were to happen, some bonus points for Daredevil. So we shall see. We shall see how it plays out. That brings us to one of the last picks of the week. The Jewish Delegation, with their 12th pick, they have acquired a full roster of 12 characters, and their final acquisition was Eric Brooks, who you might know as Blade. And they submitted as both a fan cast and a visual reference, Lenny Kravitz yet again, but this time Lenny Kravitz without the dreads, Lenny Kravitz with the low cut. And he's a snazzy, stylish dude that wears a lot of leather. I could see him killing some vampires. I will read from the wiki. A human vampire hybrid with all the strengths but none of the weaknesses of a traditional vampire, the Daywalker. Blade has dedicated his life to destroying the occult world of vampires and all who associate with them. He is currently an Avenger. I believe he has a couple of solo series. He will obviously be played by Mahershala Ali in an upcoming Marvel movie. But this incarnation, this reimagining, if you will, of Lenny Kravitz Blade means that the Jewish delegation is here to play and here to stay with a 100% approval rating, including 75% strongly approve and 25% somewhat approve. And there you have it. That is all. I will run down the list, in fact, of all the characters that the Jewish delegation has acquired this season. And you make it known. Let us know if you approve overall of what the Jewish delegation did this season in the racial draft. They acquired Reed Richards, Jonathan Kent, Superboy, Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow, Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, Jennifer Walters, She-Hulk, Harley Quinn, Tony Stark, Iron Man, Ileana Rasputin, Magic, Courtney Whitmore, Stargirl, Raven Darkholme, Mystique, Joe Malayan, Green Lantern, and Eric Brooks, Blade. Very eclectic mix of characters, but very prominent mix of characters. I think they're almost all of them have appeared in live action and are will appear in live action, in the near future. So these are super prominent. Oh, did I miss one? Yes, I did. Tony Stark, Iron Man. It doesn't get more prominent than that. So yeah, Iron Man. Yeah, Captain Marvel, Black Widow, Mr. Fantastic. There's a lot of name brand, a lot of star power in the Jewish delegation. But will that translate to points in the Fantasy Comics League? Hard to say. But they are the first delegation to acquire a full roster of characters, and that means that they get to chill for the remainder of the racial draft. The next 50 or so picks, the next 40 or so picks in the racial draft, they all get to put their figurative feet up and watch and see how everything else plays out. So that brings us to the final choice, the final acquisition of the week. And that was from the South Asian delegation, who acquired Jean Grey, AKA Marvel Girl, AKA the Phoenix, but first in our hearts, the fan cast / visual reference, Amita Suman, who you may know from a show called Shadow and Bone, which I have not watched. She is, I believe, give me a second. Oh, she's Nepali. Yeah, like I said, you may know her from Shadow and Bone. You may also know her from a small role in Doctor Who. But she was the visual reference / fan cast for Jean Grey, who was acquired by the Native American by the South Asian delegation. My apologies, for $22. I will go ahead and read from the wiki. Jean Grey was one of the 5 original X-Men, an Omega-level mutant, telepath, and powerful telekinetic. Jean has gained near limitless powers as a recurrent host of the Phoenix Force. She is known for her return from death and as the wife of Cyclops. She is known for a lot more. Wiki page. We won't talk about how she's known for 2 bad Phoenix movies, but she's still a household name. She's still been depicted in live action, in cartoons. Jean. She is prominent in the current comic book world. People are just waiting to see Jean Grey being done justice, and I think this was quite the coup for the South Asian delegation, who, not to be outdone by the Jewish delegation, who had acquired a full roster of characters. The South Asian delegation has 11 characters. So there you have it. And this is as good a reason as any to run down the list of where the delegations stand in terms of number of characters and in terms of remaining budget. As after the trade, the Latinx delegation now has 10 characters, and they have a remaining budget of $109. The multiracial delegation also has 10 characters, but they only have a remaining budget of 22 characters. The Southeast Asian delegation only has 3 characters, and they have a remaining budget of $35. The white delegation has Batman. And, really, who else do you need? But they have that 1 character Batman, and they have $1 remaining. The black delegation has 8 characters, and they have $26 remaining. The Polynesian delegation has 8 characters, and they have $420 remaining. The Jewish delegation, aforementioned, has all 12 characters, was left with $18. And that leaves, last but not least, the Native American delegation, who has acquired 6 characters and has $446 remaining to acquire another 6 characters. So again, over the next 40 or so picks, 41 picks, we will see how everything shakes out. Now, I should mention that we finally got someone to submit a backstory and a creative backstory for one of their racially drafted characters in order to potentially earn bonus dollars. And that comes from Randy from the Black Delegation. A couple weeks back, I don't know if you remember, the Black Delegation acquired Lobo, Ashy Lobo, as we joked. I will go ahead and read the new backstory for Black Lobo, as it were. Planet Sarnia was once a utopian world, but no mortal utopia is complete without its underclass, who get treated as lower and lesser citizens. Enter young Lobo, a brash, temperamental, and constantly broke young troublemaker who had his eyes on one of Sarnia's most prized commodities, quality skincare products. Having virtually no crime made Zarnian society highly trusting, and that trust made them easy pickings. And so, determined to have what the rich withheld, Lobo broke into one of the larger manufacturing plants. Once in, he only had to find the right vat. The experimental high dosage formula caught his eye, but when he leaned over to get a better look, he slipped on some of the spilled essential oils and tumbled right in. Despite the mess he made when climbing out of the vat, Lobo seemed no worse for the wear. Yet after a few minutes, he felt a growing itch. He looked down and aghast, he now saw dry, ashy patches developing on his skin. Before long, the allergic reaction became unbearable. Through the fiery itch, he grabbed the vat and overturned its toxic contents onto the floor. Little did he know the factory's floor vents would lead into the central water treatment facility. A little could be handled, but the entire spilled supply burned right through Zarnian technologies, overwhelming the water supply and those who used it to bathe and drink. Emerging from the chemical plant, the consequences were almost immediately clear to Lobo. Zarnians cried out, fled into the streets, clutching their throats, scratching their skin raw, desperate for relief. The further Lobo ran, the worse he saw the chemicals' effects spread. Vehicles, buildings were aflame, bodies piled up. Surely, even in a utopia, whoever was responsible for such horror would have to pay. Lobo had no other choice but to find an escape pod in the midst of the chaos and start life anew among the stars, doing what he did best, chasing wealth and starting trouble. So, it was a cool story, but I gotta say, I mean, it's a little bit, a little bit derivative of the Joker falling into a vat of chemicals, bleaching his skin. In this situation, he didn't bleach his skin; he ashed up his skin. It was interesting that the Black delegation chose to make him quasi-sympathetic because he was being unfairly denied skincare products, and as a you don't the ashiness was not of his choosing. But overall, I like the creativity. I'm curious, about whether this does sort of push the limits of the anti-hero, less sympathetic notion of the self-proclaimed Bastich, the main man, the this guy that does battle against the likes of Superman and is fairly heartless. It probably needs a little bit more fleshing out, but like I said, we haven't been getting too many backstories, so I'm going to look favorably upon the Black delegation, and I'm going to grant them 10 bonus dollars for the Black delegation. So those 10 bonus dollars now give the Black delegation 36 budget dollars to work with, $36 in the coming weeks. So yeah, that is our racial draft business for the week. And you would think that we'd be done, but we do have a little bit of nerd news. And this nerd news, I'm going to start with the one that actually does impact or have an impact on our bonus situation, because we had break over the last couple of days that Misha Green, who you might know from Lovecraft Country, and Jurnee Smollett, who was one of the lead characters or lead actresses on Lovecraft Country, are going to be working together. And it has been confirmed by the trades that there will be a Black Canary movie for HBO Max. Again, written by Misha Green and starring Jurnee Smollett. No word on when this project is going to air, but the fact that it's being put into development and the fact that it has been confirmed as in development means that the South Asian delegation, who has the rights to Black Canary, are going to get themselves $20 in bonus points based on the fact that a live action Black Canary series is in development. just goes to show, probably good to get some characters that have some projects possibly in development. But big news, big news for the people who were advocating for the continuation of the Birds of Prey movie, and in particular, the standout Journey Smollett's incarnation of the Black Canary. So I'm happy for all the fans. I'm happy as a fan, but stay tuned for more news. Stay tuned for more casting. Stay tuned for more, story ideas. Maybe we'll get a director for this project. But big win for the Black Canary delegation, which is the South Asian delegation. And, yet again, the Black delegation continues to lose out by not acquiring a character that would have earned them some bonus points. However, that was not the only nerd story of the week. Another story involves the Armor Wars MCU television series, which got itself a head writer, Yasir Lester, who worked on, give me a second, guys. Yasir Lester worked on Black Monday also with Don Cheadle. So this is another example of a writer and a lead actor collaborating, both on a television, on one television show that was not in the Marvel ecosystem, but now, in the Marvel ecosystem, in much the same way that Journey Smollett and Misha Green are continuing to collaborate. So still no word on when Armor Wars is supposed to come out. That series was announced last December, but I mean, maybe 2022, maybe 2023. But, it's good to know that Rhodey, War Machine, is going to appear in more MCU live action stuff. And it's good to know that there's a writer who knows how to work with Don Cheadle and knows how to bring out a lot of his good qualities as an actor. I mean, obviously this is not a director, but it's still a writer. But I can only imagine that he's going to give, meaty material to Don Cheadle and James Rhodes. And that brings us to the final news story of the week, which is very much in the realm of comics, although based on some rumors, it may go a little deeper than that. Jonathan Hickman, those of you who are major comic book fans understand how well regarded Jonathan Hickman is. He helped to revitalize the Fantastic Four. He also helped to revitalize the Avengers and write their way into the big Secret Wars storyline / event that a lot of people have been speculating is the current direction of the MCU. And then he recently took over the X line and has been revitalizing the mutants in the Marvel universe. Well, he's finally taking his steps away from that aspect. He's still going to be working with Marvel, but he is going to be departing the X-Men line after the Inferno series wraps up in the fall, I believe. So Jonathan Hickman will be stepping away. He said that a lot of the storylines that he put into place are going to continue, but others will be continuing in his stead. He will not be writing a conclusion for his X-Men arc. I guess he was so good at establishing a new status quo that they're not eager at any point to close that loop. So as a fan of the status quo, I'm happy to see it continue. But as a Jonathan Hickman fan, I'm very disappointed to see him go. But I think that's where we'll leave it, guys. I know we didn't have our normal hilarity. The back and forth banter as people try to derail the show. It's hard for me to derail my own show. So if this is what you were here for, I am sorry to have disappointed you. As always, if this is your first show, I apologize, but hopefully we gave you enough this week for you to, chew on and think about. We will be back here next week, probably with some guests, probably with some cool ideas. I will be holding people, taking them to task, asking them for explanations for why they drafted the characters they got. Give us something in the realm of their reimagined backstories. I will definitely be continuing to beat the drum of how bad of a trade it was for Captain America to get traded away. I mean, this was a character was spent almost $500 was spent to acquire Captain America, only for less than $100 worth of budget. So really, really sad, really, really disappointed. But I mean, I'm hoping that with these next 4 picks for the Black Delegation, they can knock our socks off and show us that they really came to play. Otherwise, not looking good. Not looking good. It's looking like a runaway at this point for the Latinx delegation. It looks like everybody's playing for second place. So hopefully the second place race is competitive, is highly competitive. Like I said, I think the Jewish delegation came to play this season. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see whether there are future trades, other delegations. Don't be shy. Don't be shy about trying to make some trades. Just don't make bad trades like the Black delegation did. Yeah, you did. But don't have too much more to add. Everybody have a good week. Pay attention to all of our various platforms. You can find us on Twitter at Racial Draft Pod. You can find us on Instagram at racial.draft. You can find us on Facebook at Racial Draft. You can also find us on our Patreon. If you like the show, go ahead and subscribe on all of the podcast platforms. Go ahead and subscribe to us on YouTube. We do put out content on YouTube. I will probably give you an opportunity to look at my borderline attractive face for the last hour, as I'll put up a video pod this time out. But stay tuned for other racial draft content as we continue to press ahead and continue to do what we do every week, and that is change the complexion of the comic book universe, one draft pick at a time. But until next time, all things are possible.